roads this morning. Black ice. Take care when you're travelling.
It's horrible black ice. I don't like it.
Yeah. When I went out to the van this morning and I seen the windscreens, and then I could just see the starry things over the road. I was thinking, right, okay.
The clear ice on the windscreen, but the problem is because of the freezing rain, you could be perfectly fine in your driveway and you go half a kilometre up the road. But listen, just be careful. It's fine.
Yeah, and footpaths as well this morning. Just be on.
Well, footpaths aren't treated, which is a bit of a pain for the walkers. Or people having to drop kids off at school and stuff, or get out of the house to go to the shops.
It is the weather
thing, but we don't have any strategy to deal with that,
No.
Anything exciting planned for the weekend?
Nothing. Greg Hughes told me a great series to watch, 8-part series based on a real true life story. Murder in the Family, is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's a very contemporary story, so you have to be careful.
What do you mean contemporary story?
In other words, it's just happened, so you have to be careful not to check spoilers out.
Oh, what I mean? Right. That's good. Hot off the press then.
The Murdoch family. Murder in the Family. Murder in the Family, the Murdochs.
The Murdochs, is it?
Very good.
Right.
About 2 episodes to go.
So that's what I'm looking forward to? Just chilling out.
Falling asleep.
I don't need to be doing nothing.
20 minutes in.
I don't care, but as long as I can go back then, scroll it back. What happens, I get a wee power nap then for about 25 minutes. You know what kills me, right? It's the fire. I love a fire, right? I put on a fire, right? And it just puts me to sleep.
Open fire or stove?
Oh, it's an open fire.
Yeah.
I love throwing a log on it so you see the flames. Do you know what I mean? I'm a simple kind of guy. I just like simple things. The coziness of the old fire.
Yes, I agree. You can't beat it. Modern houses now don't have them though.
I would hate that.
Yeah.
But I love that.
I would. A media wall would be nice. Do you know, the long electric fire under the TV? I wouldn't mind that. I know you can't beat the open fire, but as long as I get the
sense of a glow.
Yeah.
Some of them are really, really good.
Oh, yeah.
And you get the crackles too sometimes.
Well, I would switch that straight off. That would drive me up the wall.
Would it?
Crackling.
Aye.
An electric fire.
You're going to be crackling now for the next couple of hours. Go on, crack on.
Cackling and crackling. Lot to fit in, Gooch. Have a great weekend. Looking forward to chatting to you on Monday. It's 9 o'clock, time for a news update. Let's say good morning to Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. The Donegal County Council is warning some roads in the county remain in a very dangerous condition after freezing conditions overnight. The R250 Letterkenny to Fintown Road at Minaroy is impassable and temporarily closed due to hazardous conditions. Vehicle users are advised to avoid that area for the moment. All roads should be treated with care this morning as people drive around the county. If, as expected, the Mercosur trade deal is voted through by EU ambassadors today, the IFA says it can still be stopped through the European Parliament. Member states are likely to back the agreement with South American countries unless more show opposition to it. Ireland is among those planning to oppose the deal over farmers' concerns about the standard of imported beef. The IFA President Francie Gorman says they won't give up on their efforts to block the deal.
Look, it's been 25 years in the offing and we'll be still saying that until it's signed, it's not done. And look, even if it is agreed at council level on Friday, we then move on to ratification at the Parliament. And I was always clear in my own head that if it was going to be stopped, the best chance to stop it was through the European Parliament.
Donegal County Council is being asked to introduce a permanent one-way system in Rathmullen. Traffic restrictions are implemented on a temporary basis during times of heavy traffic, most recently during Christmas week. Councillor Porrick McGarvey says when that happens, it works very well, and he believes now is the time to make that arrangement a long-term solution, particularly with a new hotel planned and a very successful local link bus service serving the area.
We see a bus service there, Donald, that's coming through Rathmullen there on a regular basis, and I see the benefit of the one-way system for the bus, and also plans now for a 37-bed hotel at the Pier Hotel site. This one-way system now will benefit that. Now's the time to start planning, have the public consultation, Part 8, and implement this as a matter of urgency.
Investigations are continuing today into a suspected murder-suicide in southwest Dublin. The bodies of 12-year-old Oisin O'Reilly and his father, 48-year-old Wayne O'Reilly, were found at separate properties in Ballyfermot and Clondalkin yesterday morning. Post-mortem examinations are underway. The Irish Times crime and security editor Conor Lally says the main line of inquiry remains murder-suicide.
Gardaí strongly suspected that he had taken his own life. He had been looking after his son Oisin overnight, and obviously the concern was then the whereabouts and the welfare of the boy. So a Garda team went to Wayne O'Reilly's own home in Clondalkin. They forced their way in and they found Oisin O'Reilly's remains there.
Ireland must not bow down to bullies by committing to the removal of the passenger cap at Dublin Airport. That's according to the campaign group Opportunity Green. It comes as an American airline lobby group has filed a formal complaint to the US Department of Transportation over the cap. Yesterday, Taoiseach Micheál Martin said the government remains committed to lifting it. But Sorcha Tunney, Senior Manager for Ireland at Opportunity Green, claims bullying tactics are being used.
We've seen this where people have been called out, called do-nothing ministers, and been constantly put under pressure by corporate actors such as Airlines for America and Ryanair. And we really see this as bullying behaviour, and really feel that Ireland and the EU need to stand up to such behaviour, particularly as we enter into a phase where Ireland are taking on the presidency of the EU.
The forecast from Met Éireann: cold this morning with frost and icy patches slow to clear in places. Bright overall today with spells of sunshine and scattered showers. The showers will be a wintry mix of rain, hail and sleet with some snow possible over higher ground. A chance of some isolated thunderstorms as well. Top temperatures today 3 to 6 degrees Celsius in mostly light westerly winds. That's Highland Radio News. Back with news again at 10 o'clock. In the interim, check all the day's news on highlandradio.com. But for now, from the news team, good morning.
Mum, why do they call it Scottish cheese?
It's cottage cheese, honey, and I'm not sure.
Do dogs in other countries speak different languages?
Yeah, I think so.
When will we get there?
Well, we've got to fix the car first, but there's someone coming to help us.
Is it the man from Geneva?
Not Geneva. He's from Aviva. Oh, there's the van now.
For car insurance with breakdown rescue, it takes Aviva. Visit aviva.ie to save 15%.
Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. Minimum premium of €310. 15% discount applies to new policies bought online. See aviva.ie for details. Car insurance is underwritten by Aviva Insurance Ireland DAC. Aviva Direct Ireland Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
The Talk of the Northwest. The Greg Hughes Show on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good morning to you. It's Friday the 9th of January 2026. It's just turned 5 minutes past 9 and you're very welcome along to Friday's show. And of course, this is our first week of being slimmed down. So we've had to rejig things a little bit to make it a better listening experience for you, of course. And we have our regular legal slot with Seamus Gunn. That's going to come up in the first hour from 9:30. So you've got about 25 minutes to get your legal questions into Seamus right now. I'll remind you of the contact details in the not too distant future. Our Friday panel is into the second hour, and we do have an excellent Friday panel for you today. We have Sinn Féin Chief Whip Padraig McLaughlin joining us, Claire McDonough, a business owner and member of Letterkenny Chamber, and Councillor Martin McDermott, who's the Cahirlock of the Inishowen Municipal District. So those are our Friday panellists, and they'll join us just after the 10 o'clock news. Don't forget you can watch all of today's show, as always, across our social media channels. If you want to watch on your smart TV or your Fire Stick, YouTube's your best bet, and you can just search Highland Radio Ireland there and watch the show in its entirety and all of our guests. That app is good for you, of course, across your mobile devices, and we're also on the Facebook and X platforms. Really, just search Highland Radio and you'll find us. Let's have a look at the papers this morning. The Derry Journal, Derry Magistrates Court has been told that the case against a priest facing sex offences involves some 650 pages of communications that police have to examine. Edward Gallagher, 58, of Orchard Park in Lifford, had been charged with one count of attempted sexual communication with a child on dates between April 2nd and April 17th, 2025. Gallagher has also been charged with 7 further offences, including inciting a child to engage in sexual activity and causing a child to watch sexual activity on April 17th last year, as well as charges of possessing indecent images of children. I feel I have an awful lot to say on that, but it's an ongoing trial, and there is a presumption of innocence there as well. Speaking of innocence and innocence lost, an absolutely horrific story from down the country. A devastated relative discovered the body of a 12-year-old boy who was killed in a horror murder-suicide. Young Oisin O'Reilly was found lifeless at his home on Leland Drive in Clondalk in West Dublin yesterday. Beforehand, his father, Wayne O'Reilly's body was found at a separate location at Cherry Orchard Drive in Ballyfermot at 8:30am. Detectives probing the case believe the father, Wayne, who's 48, murdered his son in the early hours of yesterday morning at the home they lived in before fleeing They then suspect he made his way to the second property in Ballyfermot, where he took his own life in the back garden. Just reading on here. There's a spelling area here. There was previous interaction with Gardaí. They immediately raised concerns for the child's welfare. TUSA, the Child and Family Agency, confirmed that Oisín and the family were known to them, but stated he was not in the care of the state. Now, you may have seen, although I don't expect you to remember, that there was a missing persons appeal for both of these individuals a couple of months ago. They were found a couple of days later. Obviously, the immediate thought here is with beautiful wee Oisín and what happened to him. But again, unfortunately, there's going to be an awful lot of questions that are going to be needing answers. And I'm not going to do that now this morning, but I think you know them yourselves. But the two had gone missing previously. Tusla was aware of the situation, and now, unfortunately, Oisín has died and his father took his own life. So as to say, there's going to be a lot of scrutiny of that. The Irish Daily Mail this morning: independent TDs and Fianna Fáil backbenchers mounted a successful last-minute campaign against the Mersecourt trade deal to pressure the Taoiseach to vote against it. Farmers feel the deal will flood the market with cheap beef and poultry, and the worries were heightened this week when the Department of Agriculture confirmed contaminated Brazilian beef entered the Irish food chain last month. Although the programme for government pledged to oppose the deal in its current form, Micheál Martin appeared to open the door to supporting it this week. Speaking in China on Wednesday, the Fianna Fáil leader said a lot of progress has been made on safeguards, and we do know that we do, not us, but those that represent us, do like to be seen as the good boys of Europe. And there has been some criticism of Ireland's stance in relation to this, because we are an open economy, we're very export driven here, and yet we are being seen to oppose a trade deal that would have export benefits for other European countries as well. There's a lot of good in this Mersecourt deal if you're not interested in farming and you're not interested in forestry, if you know what I mean, i.e. the lungs of the earth. So the government were in on a sticky wicket. And I imagine that they've reached out to the overlords in Europe and said, look, domestically, there's a decision we have to make here. But you know where we are. You know where we are if you need us. I do know a lot of you are following Enoch Burke's story, and a disciplinary appeals body has temporarily agreed not to take any further steps in reviewing the dismissal of Enoch Burke from Wilson's Hospital School. Mr. Burke, who is in prison for civil contempt relating to the dispute with the school, sought a temporary injunction against the disciplinary appeals panel at the High Court yesterday. He has been detained in Mountjoy Prison since late November for breaches of a court order directing him not to trespass at the County Westmeath School where he worked as a teacher. He's been engaged in legal dispute with the board of the school stemming from a request in 2022 from the then principal that a student be addressed by a new name and pronoun. Since then, Mr. Burke has been found to have repeatedly trespassed on the school property. Rightio, so just to let you know, welcome your comments if you have anything to reflect on following that brief look through our newspapers. Get in touch with us. If you've got any questions for Seamus Gunn as it relates to legal matters, please get in touch with us as well. Or if there's something you want to put to the panel, we're certainly going to be discussing the Mersecourt deal. We're certainly going to be discussing the big conversation that's happening nationally and around the world at the moment as it relates to people having intimate images created of them on the X platform. And also to a new survey on sentiment has been released, which shows that, the public isn't necessarily very confident about the future. And obviously, both our elected representatives and indeed business person Claire McDonough should have a view on what they see for 2026 in terms of where we're at. All right, how do you get in touch with us?
The Greg Hughes Show on Highland Radio. Text WhatsApp 086 60 25000. Call 074 91 25000 or email comments at highlandradio.com.
Newspapers are kindly supplied by Cosgrove Centra, Mountaintop, Letterkenny. Now with the new look Mountaintop Diner.
The Greg Hughes Show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Take control of your finances with a debt consolidation loan today. Call 074 910 2126. Apply online through our app or in office.
Hey mate, how's all in Oz? No crack here, just it's 2:30 in the morning. An early night these days. Look, I'm not partying, I just can't sleep. Tomorrow will be fun.
Trouble sleeping, low mood, stress and feeling anxious can all be signs you should check in with your mental health. For support that can help, use the My Mental Health Plan tool at yourmentalhealth.ie from the HSC.
Whether from tech, toys, tools or devices, batteries power our everyday lives. And inside them are rare materials like lithium, cobalt and copper that can be used again and again. That's why you should never, ever bin batteries. Always recycle them for free. It's easy. Just return your old batteries for free recycling to your point of purchase or find your nearest drop-off point. Always recycle safely. See weireland.ie for details.
Great news for furniture buyers. The Cooney's Home Interiors stock disposal sale continues this week. With so much stock still available, they've cut prices even lower on a huge selection of furniture, beds and accessories. The total stock disposal sale is only at Cooney's Letterkenny Retail Park. Don't miss out.
Hey folks, step into style at Grant's Shoes Buncrana. Fitting shoes for nearly 100 years. Big winter sale now on. Discover the latest trends for men, women and kids, all under one roof. Quality footwear that speaks volumes. Echo, Skechers, Bugatti, Una Healy, Riker, Clarks and many more. Grant's Shoes Buncrana. Big winter sale now on. Visit us today on Main Street Buncrana or check us out online, grantsshoes.com.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
It's 9:15. Helen Hayes-Sweeney joins me now on the programme, a former school principal. Helen, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. Good morning to your listeners.
Thank you very much for your time. Right, you've been writing about emigration and I suppose the whole conversation around it, the reason it's happening and the impact as well too it has on families, communities and I suppose rural infrastructure.
Yes, well, I suppose I'm undertaking a PhD in history and my research area is 19th century emigrant letters from Ulster to North America. So that was a zone that I was in this week, if you like. And I live in Fanad, which is a rural community, as you know, where there have been a lot of young people emigrating to Australia and Canada and Dubai and so on over the last number of years. And I suppose heading back, the ones that were lucky enough to be back for Christmas, heading back now after the Christmas holidays and the families, I suppose, you know, missing them and bereft and so on. So that's, I suppose, where I was when I read in the Irish Times on Monday a letter sort of that I felt was diminishing that experience. So I decided that I would pen a response to that letter, and I suppose that's why I'm on your show this morning.
Yeah, and what was the key points that you wanted to get across in that communication, Helen?
Well, I suppose in the letter that was written on Monday and appeared in the Irish Times, the writer was saying that you know, I suppose the happy scenes that we see on RTE, people coming back at Dublin Airport for the Christmas holidays, he called that maudlin, out of date shtick, and said that this idea of the trauma of emigration was really past its sell date in Ireland at the moment, and that people were emigrating by choice, and that they were well educated and with modern technology, that they were having the time of their lives in Australia and New Zealand, and that a number of young people that he spoke to that were home for Christmas said they would never return to Ireland, to live in Ireland permanently, as they love living and working in the US, and how wonderful it was to hear this, and it was time to consign historic trauma and folk memory of emigration and sort of build a bridge and get over it.
But that's kind of jumping forward quite a number of steps as to why they feel they have to leave in the first place.
Yes. And I think, you know, choice is a very broad term. I suppose he's right, and we're lucky in the sense that these young people are well educated, they have trades, they have professions, but still they're looking at Ireland, and I think it was Catherine Walsh, the Director of Policy and Advocacy at the National Youth Council of Ireland, said prior to the budget that the point isn't about hardship as maybe it would have been in the past. It's about young people feeling that Ireland is no longer a place in which they can build a future. And I suppose that's what I took issue with. And also the fact that even though we do have modern communication today, the likes of Dubai and Canada and Australia are a very long way away. And that the idea that they'll never come back and live permanently in Ireland, I contended that should trouble us rather than reassure us.
I think too, ironically, because of the advantages in communications, it means it's probably less likely that they might return home. Because, you know, that draw is probably satisfied, which is bad news for us. But the truth is and sometimes I wonder if how much people get out sometimes, because unfortunately, the people I see planning to go to Australia are young people who are well qualified, but their options to work are down the country where they don't want to go. Their friends have left. They feel lonely. It's very hard to get on the road. They don't see any prospect of them moving out from under their parents' roof in their own community. And they feel they're almost being driven to this life abroad. That's the impression I get from young people I engage with.
I agree. And I mean, a young person said to me lately that you spend 4 years at university and you get a degree, say in business or whatever, and in Ireland you come out and you're earning little more than the minimum wage. And, you know, as you say, the more people who go, their friends are going. I was reading an article on tourish.ie this morning, and somebody was saying that I think their entire university class was now abroad. And, you know, people feel that they can go to Australia, they can live independently, which, you know, may not be an option here, even finding a place to rent, even never mind the price of rent at the moment. So they feel that they can have an independent life. Their friends are out there, more so than here. So, you know, I think it offers, you can understand why, and on a cold January morning, you can understand why it is an attractive option for these people. But as you say, you know, we are losing out on the skill and the talent and the enthusiasm of these people. We need them here from an employment point of view, but we need them here from a society point of view as well. And I suppose they feel even from a work point of view that they're much better treated, maybe in education or in healthcare employments in countries like Australia than they will be here at home.
Yes, and a lot of, I would imagine much of the class that you referenced were actually targeted by employers from another country saying, look, we value you, this is what we can offer you, there's $5,000 for coming over, we'll sort out accommodation. I'm not saying that's the case, but that often is what happens. Yet here, say for instance in health or education, we've got nurses, we've got consultants, we've got doctors, we've got teachers, we've got Gardaí that are burnt out and don't feel that they have a good life, they don't feel they have a good working environment, and they don't think they're paid enough. And we seem to...
Well, I know, that definitely. I mean, education, I taught for 35 years, and I suppose towards the end of my career, I was able to see the increasing pressures, and from talking to colleagues who are still at the coalface, the increasing pressure, and they feel the lack of value for their work. And it's the same with, I know from talking to people who have maybe nursing qualifications and who have friends in Australia, and that the system has a better work-life balance, much less stressful work environment. So I suppose it used to be the lure of America, but it seems very much now to be the lure of Australia. And I just felt that the initial letter in the Irish Times on Monday, that it was rather tone deaf. It wasn't clued into, I suppose, the lived experience of a lot of families throughout Ireland at the moment. And you know, he was saying it's, you know, we can go on great holidays, and I was speaking to people who have gone to Australia and had great holidays visiting their children who are living out there. But I was making the point that most parents would readily exchange that to have their children and potentially grandchildren at home in Ireland with them every day.
But the thing is, Helen, this is why this situation is not necessarily going to reverse itself anytime soon, because the contentment the parents have that their children are okay and getting on okay, and maybe that trip over there a couple of weeks a year is enough. It's enough to keep them going, and the video calls, if you know what I mean. And I don't think that's a bad thing. And I also think people, the public, especially, you know, those who believe they're very open-minded or woke or whatever it might be, need to understand that when people criticise nurses, or when people criticise teachers and talk of all the holidays and all that type of stuff, and when people criticise people on social welfare, they're actually doing the government's work, because they can sit back and go, hey, no one's talking to us. No one's having a go at us. They're fighting amongst each other. And I think sometimes people, you know this phrase, you need to wake up. Sometimes I think we do need to wake up and say, right, your anger, your commentary, your disgust, your ire, your envy, is all of these emotions are actually giving the government a break, and your concerns are going in the wrong direction. Can I say one other thing too, Helen? The impact this has on our fibre, the community. There's schools all around this county that are struggling to maintain teachers and numbers. Principals actively trying to retain students to keep the teacher numbers or to even keep schools open. GAA clubs struggling often to field football teams. This leads to post office closures, Garda station closures, and all that type of stuff. There's an awful lot going on that could be linked back to emigration and that type of environment. Helen, would you agree?
Oh, I would. I mean, we've seen schools, my own school included, which closed on the Fannet Peninsula, and I know other schools throughout Donegal and down the Western Seaboard. The same. I suppose, you know, that's it. As you say, as parents, we want our children to be happy and content, and if that's in Australia, well and good. And I do make the point in my letter that emigration is a positive experience, that these people will be enriched, and if they return, they'll bring that experience back to Ireland. But I think, as you say, this is so gradual, and it's a bit like, if it doesn't affect your family, you're not thinking about it. But it does have incremental effects going forward. And yes, as parents age, if parents are young and fit and well and so on, and can make the journey to Australia, then again, it's not as big an issue. But I think this, as you say, the creep effect going forward, this is going to have a detrimental effect on rural communities in particular. And we saw there before Christmas, Marty Morrissey going around some of the GAA clubs in Kerry and so on, who are struggling for numbers, and we see that in rural communities in Donegal, where sports clubs are struggling to field underage teams and so on. So I think it's gradual. We're looking and saying it's great for them; they're having a great time in Australia, but gradually down the line, it's going to have a massive effect.
At the moment,
because of that,
I was going to say,
letting the government off the hook.
That's it. Yeah, and I was going to say, Helen, at the moment we see as many people coming. Returning to Irish people returning to Ireland as we see leaving. I don't see that being sustained into the future. I think what we're going to see is the number returning reduce all of the while. And as well, going back to the schools, I'm hearing all the time, oh, that's the last generation of Hugheses now, or that's the last generation of Gallaghers, or that's the last generation of... You know, childbirth in this country has dropped off 14,000 in 10 years. Our young people that might be the future are emigrating. You know, we have to fast forward to 2050, the ageing population. Where are the young people? How does this country sustain? It starts becoming a big issue then.
Yeah, I mean, there is that. And I mean, there are businesses struggling for staff, whether it's hospitality and so on, and throughout the country, schools that are struggling to recruit teachers. And we know in our healthcare service, the nursing home system, it's the same. So I know a number of years ago, when Joe McHugh was Minister for Education, he was actively involved in trying to entice teachers back. But I think it's a much broader societal problem, and I think it has to be approached as such. But as you say, it's not going to be solved anytime soon. But I think an acknowledgement of it in our society would be a first step. And as you say, I think in the last year, there were a lot of people coming back. You know, I think there was only maybe about 4,000 or something of a difference between the Irish people who emigrated and those who returned. But if there is there was a Red C poll last summer for that the youth council, National Youth Council quoted that 3 in 5 under 25-year-olds were thinking of emigrating, and 1 in 3 were strongly considering it. So you're correct, I think, that going forward, we're going to see an increase in the levels of emigration.
And I don't think we even do the simple things to try and address this. I unless something changed between the last time I looked at this and now, I still think we don't actually even recognise teachers' career progression in another country. So when they return, they are back at almost square one again. I mean, something as simple as that.
I think it's second. I think it's at second level, at secondary level. I think at primary level, I possibly think that it is.
Okay, well, that's a recent enough change. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right, listen, lovely stuff, Helen. Thank you so much, by the way. Really enjoyed that conversation. Look after yourself.
Thanks for your interest, Greg. It seems to have really touched a chord with people at the time of the year that's in it. Thank you.
Because it affects us all. Thanks. Helen Hayes Sweeney, a former school principal. Just a couple of things on the roads, and keep these messages coming into us, by the way. It's important we all stay safe. The Gardaí tell us that the road between Calais and Newton is treacherous with black ice. Please take care. I'm told there's a lot of cars going off the road. Another question from a listener. If you hear any more about the road from Fintown to Letterkenny, can you let people know? Of course we can. That's what we're here for. Well, the council say all efforts are being made to ensure the Fintown road is made safe and reopened as soon as possible, but that may be much later today. Temperatures are not expected to rise today, so how do you clear this hardened-in black ice? But keep an ear to the news for updates and the council's social media pages, of course, for more information. Quick one on immigration. Don't forget Australia, a very expensive country to live in. It is, of course, right? But what is your pathway to success? What is your career growth? What is your potential? Throw in the weather. Throw in the Christmas on the beach. Throw in the fact that mum and dad, if you're lucky enough to have them, still come out and see you for a couple of weeks. Or on your down week, you can go travelling all over the place and you can contact people every day by Zoom. You know, there's... a lot of stuff is tipping the balance away from us, and there's a lot of stuff we could do to address that imbalance.
The Greg Hughes Show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000. No hidden fees or charges. Is 2026 the year you move into your dream home? Call 074 910127 or email mortgage@letterkennycu.ie.
The McElhenney's Communion Rooms are now open for 2026 bookings. Our diary is filling up fast, so book early to explore our gorgeous selection of communion dresses and accessories. Call 07491131217 today to secure your appointment with our expert team and find the perfect dress for your little princess at McElhenney's.
Take it to the limit. A celebration of the Eagles comes to the Radisson Hotel Sligo for one night only on Sunday, January 18th. Hear Johnny Brady, Simon Casey, Nigel Connell and the Sheeran family perform all the Eagles' biggest hits. Tickets from €34.50. Available from hotel reception or at takeittothelimit.ie.
With TUI, there's more choice than you think. Beach days or a city break. Fly from your local airport. Of course. Number of nights? Take your pick. And with the TUI sale now on, tailor your trip with more options and more choice. TUI. Book online, in store or on the app. Terms and conditions apply.
The massive January sale is now on at Patterson's Kitchens, the Hall Lifford. Massive savings on kitchens, beds, sofas, dining sets and giftware with up to 50% off selected mattresses. Hundreds of products in stock and ready for delivery or collection. Open Monday to Saturday 9 a.m. till 5:30 p.m. Get yourself down to Patterson's massive January sale.
Attention Donegal, Derry and Tyrone. PD Bathrooms and Tiles are proud to unveil our newest and most stunning showroom in Lisfannon Business Park, Buncrana. Located right opposite the Northwest Golf Course, we offer unbeatable quality and incredible value. For 30 years, we've been the experts in total refits, stocking and serving as the sole agent for many top brands. Visit us today and transform your space with the finest bathroom and tile solutions. Telephone 93 95 884. PD Bathrooms and Tiles, where excellence meets value. Lisfannon Business Park, Buncrana, F93H10F.
It's your last chance to enter the Donegal silage competition with Homeland and Nutrius Animal Feeds. Entries are closing soon, so hurry. Entry is free and includes 5 categories: dairy, beef, sheep, round bale and new entrant. First prize is a €300 voucher. Second prize a €200 voucher in each category. For full details, visit homeland.ie. Closing date January 16th.
Coming up in the second hour, we have the review of the week's news, our Friday panel. Pádraig McLaughlin of Sinn Féin, of course. Claire McDonough, businesswoman and member of Letterkenny Chamber, liaison in Letterkenny's Claire's business. Councillor Martin McDermott, he's the Cahirloch of Inishowen Municipal District. We're going to be discussing Grok AI, the EU MERS Code deal, consumer sentiment, what 2026 has in store, and anything else that might come up through the course of that conversation. I'm just waiting here on Seamus Gunn to join me. It gives me a good opportunity to talk about what you want to talk about as well. Good morning, Greg. I just want to highlight an observation that I saw recently in the Inishowen and wider Donegal areas. The speed of cars. People need to take responsibility and beware of their own speed. People complain about speed vans and cameras. We need to be more careful and mindful when we get behind the wheel, and that's what's absent, unfortunately. I'm guilty of it myself at times. I'm no angel, don't get me wrong. Staying with the roads, there's another video online of young people racing around the roundabout at Bridgend. It's about time the Gardaí took action and started prosecuting these young people. It begs the question how they can close off main roundabouts and put on these displays. That is a real curiosity for me. I think if I got together with 2 other people and really wanted to sort of put an end to that you could. I'm on about in terms of if I had law enforcement. I don't mean in a vigilante sense. Hi, Greg. Regarding the potential EU fine of 28 billion by 2030 if we fail to meet emission targets, which we will, when you also add in that the EU have shafted us regarding our fishing quotas in our own territorial waters, shafted our agriculture industry on the reintroduction of wetlands plan, shafted our dairy industry with the reduction of herds, are in the process of shafting our beef industry by signing up to Mercosur, on top of requiring us to increase military spending and join the EU army while moving towards World War III. I think it might be time to leave the club, as the negativity greatly outweighs the positivity at this point. Now, obviously, some of what you said there is factual, can be argued. Some of it is what you believe may well happen. All valid points, of course, all your points. But maybe we should show our teeth a bit more within that club, you know, rather than sort of saying, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's good about Europe, but maybe if we were more assertive. On emissions, we don't have the sunshine they have in southern Europe, and most EU countries have nuclear power, so they don't have to lower their emissions as much as Ireland is expected to. We're also an agricultural country, don't forget. We don't have a coherent energy plan in Ireland as it's weather dependent and use fossil fuel and gas as a backup 24/7 as the government have no energy plan for its taxation by stealth. Seamus Gunn of McLaughlin Gunn Solicitors, Letterkenny and Remelton. Do not adjust your screen. He joins me now at 25 minutes to 10. Hi, Seamus.
Morning, Greg. How are we?
Good to see you. Happy New Year to you. I hope the Christmas and New Year were good to you, were they?
And yes, look, it was a lovely Christmas, you know, and trying to get back into some form of routine now, you know. It all comes and it all goes.
And it also takes a time, I find, to get back into routine. I'm only just sort of.
It's nice to see a new format, so it's nice and fresh.
Are you on about us?
Yes.
Okay, good stuff. Thanks for that feedback, Seamus. I mean, I'm going to chat to you a little bit about US politics and it's global politics now at this stage. But there's an awful lot going on. Of course, we've got this situation with ICE killing a woman. We have Trump's situation, the US administration's encroachment into Venezuela. And you've got really effectively Donald Trump also saying that he might choose NATO. He might choose Greenland over NATO. I don't know. I know you want to have a word about something to do with the United States, but I'm very curious as to what element you're going for.
Yes, yeah, and well, you may be because it's just so moving so quickly. You know, a couple of days ago, like sort of Monday, Venezuela. Greenland then been talked about on Tuesday, and then you have Minneapolis, Minnesota then with ICE and that terrible atrocity. No matter what way you look at the video, and that occurred with the killing of that fortunate lady, Rennie Good, and it kind of beggars belief a bit because you wonder is everything getting a little bit out of control here? And so I think if we step back and try to go back to basics, a long time ago, way before our time, both our times. In the mid-1940s, the UN Charter for Human Rights was actually signed, and ironically in San Francisco, I believe, subject to correction, but I think it was, and at the end of obviously the Second World War, and there was certain fundamental principles put in place to assist all international countries and standards that were to be adhered to. And one of the main principal ones was the use of force against another, and how it could be or could not be justified, and what the circumstances would be for justifying it. And it was quite actually restricted and quite straightforward in that in self-defense, yes, or if it was sanctioned by the Security Council, one of whom, of course, of the founder members was the USA. So those are the parameters of which you can actually step outside and say justifiably use force under the UN sanction, and everyone signs up to all that. And now, like it's a bit like the trade agreements, but even worse, because everything is the baby goes out with the bathwater here, and suddenly these principles do not seem to be applicable, and the condemnation of their breaches seems to be very not equivocal enough by the powers that be, such as the European powers, who are standing back a bit and sitting on the fence. And that's what I find very difficult to take on board, except that to some degree they are compromised themselves and they don't have the wherewithal to resist the USA in its current policies. But it's completely anti what was signed up to way back then when they seen the perceived threat. And then you have NATO, as you rightly mentioned, and the NATO alliance was again this bloc, supposedly anti-communist at the time. That was the thinking behind it anyway. If under an article of that, whichever one, 5 or 6 or whatever, that if you invaded or if you used force against one of those powers, you used it against them all. And so here we are in a situation where that seems to be somewhat irrelevant as well.
Because Donald Trump knows, though, there's no NATO without the US, though. But the one observation that I thought was really quite interesting, one observation I made, I'm sure others made it too, was that in the week that Donald Trump went into Venezuela and abducted the leader of that country. I'm not saying I like the guy, but that's what happened, right? Now, it's not being reflected as such in the BBC or RTE even, but that's what they did. They went in and abducted the head of another country. And also at the point whereby effectively talking of the destruction of NATO by taking Greenland by any means necessary. The markets didn't budge. You know, back in the day, this would have seen the stock markets collapse. Oil prices came down.
Yes.
You know, so that's how accustomed, I think, we've become to Donald Trump, that he can do those two things in the 1 week, and it has a positive impact on global oil prices, and the stock market doesn't budge an inch.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. But is the stock market, is that the right parameter to be measuring this by? I mean,
it used to be, though. It used to be where it was an indication, you know.
It was an indication. But if we go back to what are the fundamentals, even the threat of the use of force on Greenland, again, is a fundamental breach of that charter that I'm referencing there. But interesting, if you check out the big European powers on Maduro, Germany didn't applaud it, but they weren't in disagreement with it. France were kind of sitting on the fence a bit as well, and the UK, Starmer's kind of, you know, hasn't really condemned it either.
Because they don't want 50% tariffs, so they don't want. They don't want. Yes, yeah. But my point is that they don't want to be shut down with massive tariffs or whatever else it might be. That's the weight, I think, the power that Donald Trump wields now.
Yeah, well, he has all of that and a lot more, but he has the defense of Europe is at stake here, and I think that's even bigger. So I do believe, and that Europe is so dependent, and absolutely, they've only ourselves to blame for this, but for the last 40 or 50 years, completely dependent nearly on US Big Brother standing up for them in the event of a situation arising. Now you have Putin goes into Ukraine. You could have China could look at Taiwan. They could do. And Putin looks at Venezuela and says, "Oh, well, I'll have that oil." And these no one is standing up to it and saying, "Well, hold on a minute." Like even then, you go back. Let's flip it back into his own country and ICE and what happened. And I believe earlier today there was another incident in Oregon where there was a couple of people shot as well. Hardly reported. And last night there's a security guy on, absolutely saying yes, he was quite right. He was in danger, and therefore he used appropriate force. And they will not be held to account. Because they have qualified immunity from prosecution in such circumstances. Once they can make the case that they consider themselves, their life, or to be in jeopardy, and they reacted accordingly. Now, within the US, there has to be a lot of disquiet about that. So it's very hard to work out what Trump is really thinking. And by saber rattling over Greenland, is he really going to invade Greenland? I don't think so. But what I am intrigued about is, what does he need it for? He already has all he wants to use it for. China and Russia aren't any threat there. They're hundreds of miles away out in the ocean, so they are. They're nowhere near it. So the minerals, I don't believe they can extract them because it's too expensive. So what is it in Greenland that is drawing them there? What's the magnet that comes from Greenland to make them so of interest? So is it within the US states that he's diverting this policy out there to have? That is the news today, while Nero fiddles while Rome burns.
Fascinating. More from Seamus answering your questions after this quick break. Stay right where you are.
The Greg Hughes Show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans made easy. Apply online or through our app today and get the funds straight into your current account.
Plan your perfect West Coast getaway at Radisson Blu Hotel and Spa Sligo for a limited time only. Enjoy up to 35% off stays right through to December 2026 at Radisson Blu Hotel and Spa Sligo in the January sale. Sea air, spa time and great savings await. But hurry, the sale ends January 18th. Book direct at radsligo.com.
Hello, I'm David Foley, medical herbalist. Are you suffering with a cold, flu or sinusitis? Then ask for Irish Botanica Echinacea. A traditional herbal remedy, Irish Botanica Echinacea is your natural solution to relieve the symptoms of the common cold, flu and sinusitis. Call Into the Natural Way, Letterkenny Shopping Centre for more information.
Whatever you're working towards, a Volkswagen commercial vehicle is with you all the way. It might be the Crafter or Transporter for carrying tools and the drive that goes with them, the Caddy Cargo or Amarok for when the job and the journey matter equally, or the ID Buzz Cargo to get excited for the future. Then benefit from HP finance from 0% and purchase contributions up to €3,000. Volkswagen commercial vehicles, space for needs and dreams. Terms and conditions apply. Finance provided by way of hire purchase agreement from Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland and subject to lending criteria. Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Visit volkswagenvans.ie for further information.
Hegarty's Home Interiors Buncrana, the biggest direct importer of sofas, beds, mattresses and flooring in the Northwest. Best in stock deals on selected sofas and corner sofas. Best in stock deals on gas lift beds. Best in stock on mattresses. Best in stock deals on laminate flooring, semi-solid flooring and carpets. Full fitting service on carpets and wood flooring, with a free delivery service throughout the Northwest, including all of Northern Ireland. Hegarty's Home Interiors Buncrana, always lower prices.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenney's. Are you ready to save big? The McElhenney's winter sale is here with up to 50% off your favourite designer brands. Shop in store or online at mcelhenneys.com.
So cold to start this morning with frost and icy patches, slow to clear. A bright day overall with spells of sunshine and scattered showers. Temperatures 3 to 6 degrees. I don't think that weather forecast is telling the full story though. Certainly be careful on certain roads out there as there is black ice. And the council just sent in a notification saying roads in South Inishowen have been gritted, but the council is aware of a high risk of black ice on a number of routes located within South Inishowen. In light of that, the council are asking all road users to travel with extreme caution on those routes. And as you would have heard over the course of this morning, there are many routes that are treacherous this morning, such as the nature of black ice. We are in the company of Seamus Gunn from McLaughlin Gunn Solicitors, Letterkenny and Ramelton. We're answering your legal questions and we'll get to some of them now. Greg, can I check the law regarding citizen journalism, approaching people on public streets and asking them about people coming to live here and being supported by our government, i.e. immigration? Some of these journalists, they start recording people regardless as to how you answer them, and then they use those videos or repurpose them to back their campaign. I have a very good friend who was unaware of this behaviour, and his video was then used online and he was ridiculed. As a result, he had a horrible Christmas and New Year. So can you demand to remove it? So if you're approaching a public street, Seamus, and
Yes.
you are or aren't aware that you're being recorded, and you find that footage then up on social media and it's been editorialized, I suppose you could say, is there any legal recourse?
Well, yes, Greg, and it's a little bit disturbing in that if one gives an interview, an ad hoc interview, I give an opinion while out for a walk or something, somebody says, what do you think of this? And they give them a view in good faith. And it's meant to be kept between the parties. And that's quite important, as in private, as it were. And then suddenly it goes on some of the social media platforms and is there for everybody to see. And it can be interpreted in a certain way. It can be put up in a certain way. It can be nearly edited in a certain way to put forward a particular view that may or may not be acceptable to the person who was even interviewed, but they have no recourse. That situation is very disquieting indeed, for sure. And I believe that it does invade one's privacy. During the interview, I don't think there's any offence in that in itself. The same thing as recording somebody or taking a photograph of somebody in public. That's not causing any problem. But when you then put it up on a social media platform, it does, and I believe, come under GDPR, and I think that general data protection legislation does come into it, and the person then has certain rights for viewing it, and also for them to inquire the justification for publishing it in the first instance. Now, they could take two steps. I think they could confront the person who's put it up to requesting that they take action immediately to take it down. And if that does not work, then they have to get onto the social media platform itself and obviously use the GDPR point that this was not taken with their consent. It doesn't represent their views, and they want it removed. In those circumstances, I think they have a very strong case to have it removed, and it should be removed. But the problem arises where you get into a situation where, well, the difference between what is private and what is public. But if the person has not consented to it being published, I think that they're well within their rights to do so, and they shouldn't have a huge issue with it. Now, if it amounts to something like harassment, and it goes a little bit further than that, well, then you could be looking like going down a criminal route and making a complaint. And there's very strong, there's very strong penalties now in place since only a couple of years back in relation to that, by way of taking a prosecution. So that would be a question of interpreting it. But I think that the putting it up single-handedly, as it were, unilaterally, without the consent of the person who's the main contributor, I think that's a step too far.
Okay. Morning, Greg. As a widower and not having children, what would happen to my property if I don't have a will made? I have siblings and nieces and nephews. I might like my godchild to inherit the property, but with inheritance tax, I'm not sure they could afford to pay it. Thank you. What happens?
Yeah. Well, let's be sensible about it and say this. The caller has put forward a question that, yes, there is rationale in it, but the simple answer to it, and it's not always that obvious, is for the individual to go and make arrangements and put some arrangements in place. Otherwise, to answer the question, her estate falls to be distributed in accordance with the 1965 Succession Act, and therefore, as she is described as a widower, it will pass down to her lineal descendants, brothers, sisters, siblings as such, and nephews and nieces of maybe predeceased siblings, brothers or sisters, and be divided among them. And unfortunately, the caller, well, not that she'll have any interest, but she will have no say as to how her estate is dealt with. So the answer to the question really is for her to go ahead, see her solicitor, make some arrangements, and put it in place, and put the will in place, and therefore she has certainty about the succession to her estate. Otherwise, and what can happen, and often does, and it's unfortunate, but it's just that that's the circumstances that follow, that if there's no arrangements, then you could have a multitude of nephews, nieces inheriting shares of an estate, and everything and her property, her house or whatever she owns, would have to be sold, liquidated down, and divided equally among them after all expenses are paid. And that may be something that the individual does not want. And if she doesn't want that, well, go along and make some arrangements.
Yeah, and I think that really it comes down to, you can't leave it to happenstance. If you are that unaware of what the consequences are now, definitely get into an office and get something sorted.
Yeah, because she's thinking far too far ahead about her demise, but not thinking about, well, what can I do to control it and to control what happens thereafter? And she still has all that power herself now. But
and the
that
peace
will be taken from her.
The peace of mind and uncertainty that might be relieved by dealing with it now. Another question in the same space-ish. What's the process or procedure of passing on or adding a son or daughter on the family home? What are the implications, if any, or costs? Not costs, but, I think they're looking for a broad idea maybe of implications. Cost implications.
I think what they're hinting at, and it can be very practical, is maybe a situation arises where father and mother are joint owners of the family home, and maybe a son or daughter has decided to stay with them or is living with them, and they might have other children, but they would like that this particular person to inherit it. Now, there's a couple of ways they can do that. They can make their arrangements, and as I referenced there before, and bequeath the property to them under their will. They have a tax threshold now, a son or daughter of around 400,000. So if it doesn't exceed that, there wouldn't be a tax implication. If they lived with them, it wouldn't arise anyway, if they lived with them for a certain period of time before they passed away. So that is an option. The other one, though, that I think what they're hinting at is now actually transferring the property into maybe the two names or one names of the parents and the child, so that therefore, whenever they would pass away, in the normal scheme of things, but maybe not, that if that was the last person surviving, then on survivorship, they, as a joint tenant, they would automatically come into the property with the production of a death cert of those that were on the title jointly with them. So to do that, we're going to need to go along. We're going to need to get some representation and they get a valuation of the property and a transfer of it into maybe 2 or 3 names, and natural laws of succession applying, they could ultimately come into it by way of survivorship to the joint tenancy.
With no tax implications?
Well, given, unless we're into a situation exceeding the figure that I have said there, 400k, I don't believe so.
Right.
And if it's a situation where they were cohabiting with them and they remain in it, and that's their only home, then it could be an exempt property in any event, even if they weren't a child, if they were a nephew or a niece. That is an exemption that is very practical and does sometimes arise.
All right, Seamus, if anyone needs any advice, obviously there's lots of solicitors and lawyers and all that out there. You are out there as part of Seamus Gunn and McLaughlin Gunn Solicitors in Letterkenny, with your physical offices in those 2 locations and online as well.
Yes, Greg, we hope so. Yeah, donegalsolicitor.ie, or just keep it to gun.ie, and we hope you'll find us, and we should be there to help.
All right, take care of yourself, Seamus Gunn. He'll be back with us in a few weeks' time with more answers to your legal questions. Right, we'll be back with our Friday panel in the second hour after we take a break.
The Greg Hughes Show on Highland Radio. Text WhatsApp 086 60 25000. Call 074 91 25000 or email comments at highlandradio.com.
The Greg Hughes Show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. New year, new wheels. Drive into 2026 with a low-rate car loan. Fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or visit today.
T-Shirt Express has moved. You'll now find us beside C&M Embroidery, Lismonaghan, Letterkenny. We're still your go-to spot for custom T-shirts, workwear, gifts and balloons. Just in a fresh new location. You can still reach us on the same number, 086 343 3504. T-Shirt Express, now beside C&M Embroidery, Lismonaghan, Letterkenny.
Hey Owen, what would you like for breakfast?
Cereal, please, Mom. Lots of milk.
Okay. Ugh, no milk. If I go to the shops, he'll be late for school. Ugh, the teachers will think he's a messer. Ugh, pigeonholed. Now he'll never be a consultant cardiologist. Ugh.
For less and more, sign up to mymilkman.ie or download the app. Wake up to fresh milk and more delivered to your door. mymilkman.ie always delivers.
Happy New Year! Or should we say Happy 261? Didn't get the chance to pre-order your new car? No worries, we have 261 stock ready to go. New year, new plans, and the perfect moment for a new car. You deserve it! Visit iMotors in Letterkenny or Malin. iMotors, fearless generation.
It's time to book Paul Claffey's trip to sunny Spain 2026. To celebrate 30 years of amazing holidays, we're heading back to the beautiful Barossa Hotel in Cadiz for one very special week from June 4th to the 11th, 2026. Joining Paul is Mike Denver, with special guests Jerry Guthrie, Dominic Kerwin, Brendan Shine, David James, Gina and many more, with flights from Knock, Dublin, Cork, Shannon, Belfast and the UK. The price is from only €1,289 plus tax and charges. For details call 01 685 2244 or see paulclaffeytours.ie.
If you're organising an event, you might be surprised by everything BizPrint offer, from photo props, backdrops, banners to tablecloths, pens, keyrings and mugs. Everything to make your event a big success. Call BizPrint on 9177 955 or see bizprint.ie.
Treat yourself to great food and good times at Mulroy Woods Hotel with their new bar food menu, served 7 days. Savour a main course and drink for just $18.95 on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Or Pizza Fridays with any pizza and drink for €15 at Mulroy Woods Hotel, Milford.
The best music on your station, Highland Radio.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the news desk. Donegal County Council is warning of dangerous road conditions in a number of areas. The council says although roads were gritted at 6 o'clock this morning, it's been made aware of a high risk of black ice on a number of routes, particularly within South Inishowen. In light of this, all road users are being asked to exercise extreme caution. Meanwhile, the R250 Letterkenny to Fintown Road at Mina Roy is impassable and remains temporarily closed due to hazardous conditions. Vehicle users are advised to avoid that area until further notice. If, as is expected, the Mercosur trade deal is voted through by EU ambassadors today, the IFA says it can still be stopped through the European Parliament. Member states are likely to back the agreement with South American countries unless more show opposition to it. Ireland is among those planning to oppose the deal over farmers' concerns about the standard of imported beef. IFA President Francie Gorman says they won't give up their efforts to block it and will now be looking towards the Parliament.
Look, it's been 25 years in the offing and we'd be still saying that until it's signed, it's not done. And look, even if it is agreed at council level on Friday, we then move on to ratification at the Parliament. And I was always clear in my own head that if it was going to be stopped, the best chance to stop it was through the European Parliament.
Independent Ireland says the proposed deal needs to be opposed to protect public health. Ciarán Mullooly, Independent Ireland's MEP for Midlands North West, is highlighting a Farmers Journal report which uncovered dangerous ingredients detected in British beef here.
We have established in the European Parliament and in the European Commission over the course of the last 18 months the presence of very, very serious and very dangerous illegal animal growth promoters in Brazilian beef. Last week, 127 kilos of meat came into this country. In that meat, there was a drug called astridol. It's carcinogenic, it's banned in Europe, and it went into the food chain.
Donegal County Council is being asked to introduce a permanent one-way system in Rathmullen. Traffic restrictions are implemented on a temporary basis during times of heavy traffic, most recently during Christmas week. Councillor Porrick McGarvey says when that happens it works well. He believes now is the time to make that a long-term arrangement, particularly with a new hotel planned and a very successful local link bus service serving the area.
We see a bus service there, Donald, that's coming through Rathmullen there now on a regular basis, and I see the benefit of the one-way system for the bus, and also plans now for a 37-bed hotel at the Pier Hotel site. This one-way system now will benefit that. Now's the time to start planning, have the public consultation, Part 8, and implement this as a matter of urgency.
Investigations are continuing into a suspected murder-suicide in southwest Dublin. The bodies of 12-year-old Oisin O'Reilly and his father, 48-year-old Wayne O'Reilly, were found at separate properties in Ballyfermot and Clondalkin yesterday morning. Post-mortem examinations are now underway and will determine the course of the investigation. Irish Times crime and security editor Conor Lally says the main line of inquiry remains murder-suicide.
Gardaí strongly suspected that he had taken his own life. He had been looking after his son Oisin overnight, and obviously the concern was then the whereabouts and the welfare of the boy. So a Garda team went to Wayne O'Reilly's own home in Clondalkin. They forced their way in and they found Oisin O'Reilly's remains there.
Ireland must not bow down to bullies by committing to the removal of the passenger cap at Dublin Airport. That's according to Opportunity Green. It comes as American airline lobby group has filed a formal complaint to the US Department of Transportation over the cap. Yesterday, Micheál Martin, the Taoiseach, said the government remains committed to lifting it, but Sorcha Tunney, senior manager for Ireland at Opportunity Green, says bullying tactics are being used.
We've seen this where people have been called out, called do-nothing ministers, and been constantly put under pressure by corporate actors such as Airlines for America and Ryanair. And we really see this as bullying behaviour, and really feel that Ireland and the EU need to stand up to such behaviour, particularly as we enter into a phase where Ireland are taking on the presidency of the EU.
A cold start with frost and icy patches slow to clear in many areas this morning. Bright overall today with spells of sunshine and scattered showers. The showers will be a wintry mix of rain, hail and sleet. Some snow possible over higher ground. A chance of some isolated thunderstorms. Top temperatures today 3 to 6 degrees Celsius with mostly light westerly winds. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news headlines again at 11. Check all the day's news on highlandradio.com. But for now, from the news team, good morning. The obituary notices for this Friday morning, the 9th of January. The death has taken place of Matt Moore, 14, Ardcolumkill, Letterkenny. Removal from Eternal Light Chapel of Rest, Mountain Top, Letterkenny, this afternoon at 2 o'clock, going to his late residence. Wake there from 4 o'clock until 10 o'clock this evening, and again tomorrow from 12 noon until 10 p.m. Funeral service in the family home on Sunday afternoon at 2 o'clock, followed by interment in Gortley Cemetery, Letterkenny. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to Conwall Parish Church, care of any family member. The death has occurred of Margaret Needus, née Conlon, late of 5 New Street, Clady, formerly of Molinari, Carrickmacross. Reposing at the home of her daughter and son-in-law Patricia and Eugene Walsh, 11 Tullacor Heights, Strabane, today from 12 noon until 10 p.m. Removal from there tomorrow at 1:15 for Requiem Mass at 2 o'clock in St Columba's Church, Dunnyloop. Interment afterwards in the adjoining churchyard. Family time, please, before the funeral tomorrow. The death has occurred of Catherine K. Stewart, Chris Lamore, Burnfoot. Kay's remains will repose at Murphy's Funeral Home today from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. and from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. Removal from her home at Christlamore tomorrow morning at 10:30, going to St Murdoch's Church, Fawn for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, followed by interment in the adjoining graveyard. The Requiem Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Family time, please, before the funeral tomorrow. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Foyle Hospice, care of any family member or Sean Murphy, funeral director. The death has taken place of Jean Borland, Gina Brua, Redbray Rathmullen, reposing at her niece Emily Borland's residence at Redbray Rathmullen today from 11 a.m. until 10 p.m. Funeral service tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock in Rathmullen Presbyterian Church, followed by burial in the adjoining cemetery. Family time, please, before the funeral tomorrow. Family flowers only, please. Donations if desired to Odyssey Donald Residence Comfort Fund, care of any family member. The death has taken place of Ethna McCool, 9 Melvin View, Strabane, reposing at her home. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 9:20 for Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Melmount at 10 o'clock, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Donations in lieu of flowers, please, to the Foyle Hospice, care of Quigley Funeral Directors. Family time, please, from 10 p.m. to 11 a.m. and on the morning of the funeral. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the parish webcam. The death has taken place of James Davenport, Rusky, Quigley's Point. James's remains will repose at his home in Quigley's Point until midnight tonight. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Columba's Church, Drung, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Requiem Mass can be viewed on stcolumbusdrung.net. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to St Vincent de Paul, care of any family member or Eamon McLaughlin, funeral director. And the death has taken place of Mary Conlon, née McNamee, Cheevogue, Bondoran Road, Ballyshannon, formerly of Glenfin. Removal from her late residence this morning at 11:45, arriving at St Joseph's Church, The Rock, Ballyshannon, for Mass of the Resurrection at 12 noon, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only, please. Donations in memory of Mary, if desired, to the palliative care team at Sligo University Hospital, care of Patrick McKenna, funeral directors, or any family member. House private, please, before the funeral this morning. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Get ready to expect more for less with our BYD 261 offers. You can expect monthly payments as low as €189. Visit your local BYD showroom today. Price based on a BYD Dolphin Surf Boost with RRP of €22,230. Purchase via PCP on 3.5% APR. 35% deposit required. 37-month term. Available until 31st of 3rd 26. Lending criteria conditions apply. Bank of Ireland Trading is Bank of Ireland Finance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Okay, just a couple of requests before we go to our Friday panel. Please wish Angela Kelly Raffo a very happy birthday from Jack and all the family. Thanks, our pleasure. Hi, can you please play a birthday request for my cousin Gareth in Manor Cunningham, Gareth Godey, whose birthday is today. Also, I can't play that song because I simply don't have time. Dennis Orr, Fox Hills, Letterkenny, is 64 today from Michael and Madge. Happy birthday. And also a very happy 90th birthday to one of life's true gentlemen, Hugh Coyle, Ligford Road, Legfordrum, Strabane. He's battled through ill health and has never once complained. He thoroughly enjoys listening to Highland Radio and will be delighted to hear his name mentioned on the radio. He's some man for one man. Lots of birthday wishes to the best dad and granddad from his son Dominic, daughter-in-law Michelle, and his grandson Anthony. And a very happy birthday to you, Hugh Coyle, not only one of life's gentlemen, but also a man of very high taste, listening to us here on Highland Radio every single day.
The Friday panel on the Greg Hughes Show.
That's right, and we can say good morning to our Friday panel, which will be completed very shortly. Padraig McLaughlin, Sinn Féin Chief Whip, spokesperson on fisheries and the marine. Good morning to you, Padraig. Oh, this is poor form. I'm
a devil for that mute button after all these years. Good morning, Greg.
I think that's your first error in that regard. This certainly won't happen to Claire McDonough, who is a member of Letterkenny Chamber and director of La Maison Letterkenny. Hi, Claire.
Morning, Greg. Morning, Pork.
Good to have you with us. Councillor Martin McDermott will be joining us shortly. Just interesting, and maybe start with you, Claire, on this one. Just given your business acumen. Consumer sentiment finished 2025 on a subdued note as concerns over living costs continued to dampen confidence despite the economy's strong growth. The Credit Union Consumer Sentiment Survey rose only slightly to 61.2 in December. That's up from 61 in November. And consumer confidence has barely moved from April's two-year low of 58.7 at the height of US tariff concerns, and is far lower than both the reading of 73.9 a year ago and the long-term survey average of 83.6. And I suppose, Claire, we look at that and we sort of wondered, is this an indicator of spend and what 2026 might be like for business? What is the mood, or is it too early to tell, especially after a first week of the year befuddled by snow?
Well, I think the key word there is confidence, and I think everybody's confidence is probably a bit shaken after 2025 when you look at what's happening in the US, what's happening in Europe. Certainly the news this week full of the Mercosur deal, all of that, and as you say, the weather. You could forgive people for being a little bit edgy and a little bit nervous, no doubt about it. And rising costs are still there, and certainly for small business, or for any business really, auto enrolment kicked in this week. We have the minimum wage and all of that, so there's certainly pressures growing in business all the time. I think it's a good thing, I suppose, in Donegal that the rates didn't go up, and that we'll take the ones when we get them, and I think that's a great help to day-to-day running costs for small business. In the chamber, we would always, our approach is always to be as positive as possible. So the things that I would take from it that are positive, people might be nervous, business sentiment might be nervous, customers might be a little bit nervous as well in terms of what's happening globally and in Europe. But when I look at the performance locally here in Letterkenny, and I'm thinking particularly of Shop LK, you'd have to look at the confidence displayed by people putting their hands in their pocket and buying Shop LK vouchers. We went from, our figure in 2024 was 7.02 million, and it's 9.2 million for 2025, which is astounding. So we would have to say that people maybe in Donegal, and I'm sure it's the same in other small towns, and a lot of new vouchers schemes have popped up in the last year or two. I think people understand the importance of shopping local and protecting local jobs and local business. So I would take great confidence from that.
We can't take anything for granted though, can we, Claire? Because, what we've seen, and particularly I suppose we felt it during the last recession, there were people still at work, obviously. The majority of people that wanted to work were still at work. And there was still a good cohort of people that were comfortable, but they stopped spending money. And when you have those, there are always people who struggle to spend because of their difficult circumstances. But when you have those with a little bit of money or those with a lot of money and they start getting cautious with it, that's where problems really can begin for businesses and I suppose the economy in general.
Yeah, no, I do agree. And I think that's something that, none of us can afford to rest on our laurels. And whilst that figure is fantastic and we're extremely proud of it in Shop LK and in the chamber, I do think that, the pressure is always there to make sure that your offering is very competitive and that you listen to your consumers. And, particularly when markets begin to change a little and demand, moves in a different direction, you have to be so agile. So I think that, you have to be wide awake when you're in business. There's no doubt about that, particularly in local business and small independent businesses.
Yeah, Deputy Pádraig McLaughlin, I suppose to how successful we are as a country, you probably have to drill into different areas. There's a bit of fallback in tourism, but obviously there are certain sectors in Ireland that create the impression that the entire country is doing well and everybody's well off. But I mean, obviously listening to Claire and others, there's certain areas of commercial life that are very difficult, and there are certain people out there struggling on a daily, and unfortunately that number is really, really quite big.
Yeah, the headline figures, will tell you that we have the highest tax take ever, but we also have the highest, corporation tax, and that is, what's referred to as a windfall tax. It's not going to be there forever, and what the advice is that you should spend that on bricks and mortar, on infrastructure, on one-off investment. But in terms of the picture in Donegal, Claire's right. I mean, I'm a big fan of Letterkenny Chamber of Commerce. We have an excellent local enterprise office. I attended the award ceremony for both late last year, and that they are a huge positive, but the facts on the ground are that many families are struggling, and small businesses with the cost of living, with energy costs, particular is outrageous in this country. We have the highest electricity costs in all of Europe. There's another report covered on Highland Radio today about that, and that happened by terrible government policy that allowed a good news story. We had a publicly owned electricity infrastructure that we built when we had no money, and it was probably the cheapest electricity in Europe, and we gave it away and allowed it to fall into the hands, frankly, of people who were more interested in profit, and the impact of that is very, very serious. And it's not just electricity costs; it's insurance costs, it's childcare costs, it's the increase of rents. Rent is going through the roof in Donegal for young families. It's doubled over the last number of years. So they're the negatives. The positives are what Claire talks about. We have really excellent people who are trying to help each other across the business community in the county, trying to get through this. And if it wasn't for them, we'd be, I think, in very serious trouble.
Martin McDermott, good morning to you. How are you keeping? Councillor Martin McDermott, of course. Good morning.
Good morning, Greg. Good morning, Pádraig. Good morning, Claire.
We were just having a brief conversation there, and you got most of it just about a recent sentiment survey. It shows it's pretty low, to be honest with you, dampened confidence. Yet we are seeing the economy growing, and we've sort of referenced the various areas of that. What's the mood in Inishowen for 2026, if you've been able to sample it, I suppose?
Yeah, look, I think the mood is a positive one, to be honest. I think we have to be positive, but, business is becoming very difficult, particularly for smaller businesses, and Claire has sort of hit that. And I know here in Inishowen and Carndonagh this year, and Claire hit the Letterkenny Chamber and what they're doing with promoting the
vouchers,
the vouchers.
Shop OKs, yeah.
Carndonagh is central to that now. The Traders Association have set that up locally in Cairn, and they also distribute those vouchers for all around the country. And this year they had over 1 million vouchers. So it has become very, very popular. It is really, really beneficial to the local community, particularly in the towns and villages rurally. And I think that going forward, and it's shown. From my perspective, we met with Claire and her team maybe about 8 or 9 months ago, Claire, about talking about having an Inishowen Chamber of Commerce and putting together an Inishowen Chamber of Commerce. And I think that would be really beneficial for the business.
I presume those vouchers are driven by tax breaks. And we talk about not getting reliant on corporation tax. I don't think we want to get too reliant on those vouchers either, in case there was a shift in policy into the future. Maybe I'm wrong in that, but that's my sense. Martin, you talked about the struggles facing businesses, though you would have voted for an increase in commercial rates, I'm sure. You'd have voted alongside the likes of others. Is that not a little bit of duplicity?
No, I don't think so, Greg. I think there's more to that than just, saying that you're going to vote for an increase in rates. The rates were put in front of us for a 5% increase in rates. We had long discussions with senior management in Donegal County Council, the chief executive and senior management, to discuss, feelings that we had as councillors of things that's not happening within the council, things that we feel that should be done better.
I'm not going to stick on this though, but one of the reasons you were holding out was to defer roadworks in Letterkenny. How does that impact your businesses in your area?
Yeah, well, look, Letterkenny is the main town that we have, the main in the whole county. When we go to Lifford, we have to look at the county as a whole, not just be parochial and look after Inishowen. We have to look after the whole county. And a lot of the members within my own grouping had serious concerns in relation to the traffic situation in Letterkenny. That was one of the main concerns that they had with the active travel, and with the fact that there was a lot of negative media coverage as well of people being held up for hours and hours. So we wanted to try and get a resolution to that. But we also have to balance our books as well, Greg, because Donegal County Council is a business as well, and we have to, make sure that we have the money to cover the services that we have to give to the people every year. And, we did propose then a 2.5% increase in rates, which would have kept a lot of the services that we're losing now, and some of those infrastructure services that we would have as councillors for doing works in our local community is gone. And I felt anyway, those were services that were really beneficial to the local community, and it would be something that I would like to have seen staying. But look, I suppose everybody has to balance their own books, and I think that, you know, as a council going forward, we have a lot of money to spend on, you know, big projects that are coming into the county. There's quite a number of them that's going to happen.
Well, we're going to struggle to actually we can cover our backsides for now, but we're going to struggle into the future. We're not going to go through the rates, but what I thought was astonishing, especially when it seems to be what the businesses wanted, and Claire, maybe you could come in, this is some sort of a structure. You know, we're kicking it down the road, and what is it going to be, a rates increase at 6% all in one go? Why aren't we building in gradual increases over time to meet our demands into the future? Because this again is just going to come up next year, and we're going to say, oh, we're even further in the crap now, we might even need to increase them further. You know, I would have thought that budget should have been agreed with some sort of a structure going forward that businesses could plan for, they could put into their budgets, etc. But we don't seem to do things that way here.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying, Greg, and I think and I agree with Martin. Having been a council employee myself a number of years ago, every business and every organisation has to balance its books with its income versus its expenditure. It's simple maths. But I think from, I am here to talk from the business perspective, and I think at the end of the day, the small businesses that are the backbone of our community, they only have a certain amount of money. And if you're putting on auto enrolment and you're putting up the minimum wage and your energy costs are through the roof, I would guarantee businesses would have closed if rates had gone up.
Yeah,
there's no doubt about it, because there's so many small businesses who would be on that
tipping point,
precipice of one more thing, one more straw that breaks the camel's back. So there's a struggle I see there from national government versus local government priorities.
But of course,
and local governments probably
the big solution to this, of course, is more central government funding for local authorities.
Absolutely.
Why are they having to split up a cake of a certain size when that cake arguably should be bigger? More funding 100%. For local authorities, Porrig, finally.
Yeah, we have the most centralised form of government, I think, in all of Europe. We really have taken so many powers away. Indeed, we got rid of the town councils. We lost all our town councils across Donegal, which were a big loss. I started off in a town council in Buncrana, and I think that was a massive mistake. And you have this tug of war every year. And I agree with Claire. I mean, this particularly for small businesses. You just couldn't have increased rates on small businesses this year for all the reasons she's outlined.
We'll be back with more from our guests and your comments after the break.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Friday the 9th of January. You're playing on the yellow sheet for the daily prize of €400. The reference number is S10. It's game number 2. The numbers are 24, 6, 69, 77, 15, 13, 26, 80, 55, and finally 45. Phone your claim to 9104833 before midnight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Great news for furniture buyers. The Cooney's Home Interiors stock disposal sale continues this week. With so much stock still available, they've cut prices even lower on a huge selection of furniture, beds and accessories. The total stock disposal sale is only at Cooney's, Letterkenny Retail Park. Don't miss out.
Expecting a baby? Don't miss the Cool Kids Sligo Winter Baby Sale with up to 50% off selected prams, pushchairs, car seats, nursery furniture and high chairs. Cool Kids Sligo, your premier destination for baby equipment in the Northwest. We accept deposits and offer free nationwide delivery. Shop online at babyaccessories.ie.
Ready to upgrade your car? At Shane Conley Cars in Donegal Town, we've got a great selection of makes and models to suit every budget. With flexible finance option and trade-ins welcome, upgrading has never been easier. Visit ShaneConleyCars.com or call in to see us at Shane Conley Cars, Drumlonagher, Donegal Town.
Imagine sinking into a perfect comfort every night.
At Restex Beds, we believe a better sleep means a better life. Choose from our vast range of quality mattresses and find the one that's perfect for you. Restex Beds, Mountaintop Letterkenny. Leave the rest to us.
The Greg Hughes Show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Big plans, big dreams. Home improvement loans, borrow up to €80,000. Visit letterkennycu.ie today.
The Friday panel on The Greg Hughes Show.
Councillor Martin McDermott, Cahirlock of the Inishowen Municipal District, Claire McDonough, member of Letterkenny Chamber and director of La Maison Letterkenny, and Pádraig McLaughlin, Sinn Féin Chief Whip and spokesperson on fisheries and the marine. EU Mercosur deal is going to be agreed today, it would seem. There's still a big vote in a couple of weeks, though. MEPs will have to pass this, and we shouldn't take our eyes off that ball. But with the government only confirming its no vote at the 11th hour, Pádraig McLaughlin, to what extent was this decision driven by the science of agricultural standards, and how much of it was a survival tactic to stop independence from collapsing the coalition?
Micheál Martin, to me, is at the centre of the problem here. I think he is consistently really weak when it comes to standing up for Irish interests in Europe. We've seen recently in terms of the Fisheries Council. I am absolutely shocked at Micheál Martin's response. I can't tell you how brazen what happened to our fishing communities was. It's absolutely devastating. We should have taken legal action. We should have legally challenged it. We should have called out the rotten behaviour at the centre of the Common Fisheries Policy, the corruption at the heart of the Common Fisheries Policy. We see it off our west coast with massive super trawlers, huge corporations hoovering up fish while Muireann Kavanagh, a young girl, can't catch pollock, off a hook and line. So Micheál Martin couldn't stand up to that. It's the same again when it came to Mercosur. He was hedging his bets. He's over in China saying, "Oh well, we're not sure. We're not sure." For God's sake, how clear can it be? You have a situation here where Irish farmers, are tortured year in, year out to meet the highest possible environmental standards, highest possible animal welfare standards. Any of us who deal with farmers know the paperwork they deal with, the pressure they're under just to get their single farm payments, the whole range of them over the years. They keep changing every single year. That's the pressure. But what comes from that is a very high quality, world-class beef product. And that's what we met, and that's what was done. You're now going to throw in beef, that has that has none of those standards.
Does that not make our product more attractive? We market it better. We fight for those positions on the shelves in Europe and say this is our good Irish beef, which represents, I think, something in the region of 40% of total beef exports, and say, right, let's pitch our top quality product against this genetically influenced Brazilian beef.
Well, what will happen is, unfortunately, it will drive down prices. And this year is one of the first years in a long time that our beef farmers actually made a decent return. For a long time they've waited for this. That's why there's such anger, and I think there will be a very big turnout at the protest tomorrow, because they can see clearly here that you have absolute double standards. You're being told that you're damaging the climate, you must meet these standards, animal welfare, and by the way, farmers accepted all of that. They worked with it, but then to see completely different standards competing with them.
Do you not have a responsibility though to look at the bigger picture, right? Of course, obviously this could be damaging to farming. Manufacturing exports are expected to hit 1.4, 1.5 billion by 2035. Our total exports as a result of this deal, anticipated to go up 17%. There's currently, I think, a tariff of 18% on pharmaceuticals, etc., pharmaceuticals and chemicals. That'll be gone to this market. Machinery and electronics, they will no longer have tariffs. And we also, too, will open up more service markets. One of our biggest exports is services, right? So we're talking about sentiment in the first segment here. Is it not your job and the government's job as well to say, right, okay, this isn't good for the farming industry, but look what else it does for Ireland Inc.?
Well, if you look at the whole fallout from Brexit, one of the biggest things was that you had standards that were exactly the same. That if you were exporting, and the British people were told this, to Europe, you had to meet the standards that we've set. So what the issue here is utter hypocrisy.
Just let me clarify what you mean there, because our exports of beef to the UK, which also does actually import Brazilian beef, went up.
No. What my point is that during all of those negotiations, one of the big issues was that the British needed to meet the standards in the European Union.
I
and that's
understand,
fair
right?
enough.
Yes, I get you.
Do you understand
Yeah,
the point
I
I'm
do.
making here is
Understood.
that in terms of South America, that has not been asked. And I mean,
but again, not to be argumentative, the EU has said that we are going to be checking this beef, and if it does not meet our standards, and we've seen they actually do identify when it doesn't, because they've found Brazilian beef in our country and also in Europe, that they will cease the import of this South American beef. So, you know what I mean? Those are the checks and balances you talk of, I presume.
Yeah, the difficulty is that nobody is convinced by that in the farming communities, and what you're seeing here. That's the pressure's been applied.
Okay.
With Micheál Martin, in my opinion, the only reason why he backed down on this is that the independent members of government, it looked like.
And I'll come back to that, but
so
we
can collapse this government. If that hadn't happened, Micheál Martin would have signed up to this deal.
I mean, but really, if the truth be told, and I'm not saying this is a fact, I'm putting it to you as a point. We're worried. Are we really worried about the rainforest? We want to burn our turf, right? We want to keep coal, right? So are we that interested in the environment, if the truth be told? We worry about what could be in the beef. Is it really about that? Is it not a case that the European market is already flooded with beef, and there's going to be cheaper beef coming in, whether it's genetically modified or not, and Irish beef is going to be too expensive because of the regimes that Irish farmers. So it's not about the safety of the product. It's not about the quality of the product. It's really about the market for the product.
No. It is very much about two things. First of all, farmers, who produce the food for us all across in Ireland and across Europe, they had been asked to meet the highest possible standards. They have been scapegoated in so many ways, but it's not even about them. It's about public health. I mean, if you're looking about hormones, about antibiotics that are banned in the European Union, that a recent investigation, that the Irish Farmers Journal had a team out to South America. You can openly buy all of these products. This is extremely dangerous to public health. So there's two things. This is about corporate greed, absolute corporate greed, naked corporate greed that is reckless and that treats farmers with completely different standards. And if you have any kind of values as a country, you can't stand for that.
Yeah, okay, but it doesn't show an awful lot of faith in European standards if you don't believe those European standards will keep bad beef out of the food chain, which is kind of ironic. Martin McDermott, Mercosur deal, do you think the government did the right thing in saying that it will vote no? And we will get on a little later on to the fact that the MEPs will actually make the call on this, and it'll be very interesting to see how we vote. But Martin, do you think the government is it too little too late? Do you welcome it? Do you think that maybe the government should have backed the Mercosur deal?
No, I think it's certainly not too little too late. I think that the government has made the right decision not to back it. I think, Greg, we're getting into something here in Europe at the minute, and particularly for people in this country and for ourselves as politicians, I think maybe Pádraig will agree with me on this, that we're getting very sceptical of a lot of the things that's happening in Europe. Pádraig touched on fishing. Now we're on farming. We can go through a number of different things that Europe is changing that doesn't really suit our country. And and I think as a government and as councillors and as politicians and as TDs, I think we have to start looking at where we're actually going at the minute, because our fishing sector is gone, absolutely gone. Our farming sector, and I think if this does come in, and I think you hit the nail on the head, Greg, there when you said this is at the end of the day about money and about whether it's going to be financially workable for beef farmers to sell beef, because our beef is more expensive than other beefs. But there has been situations clearly that beef coming in from some of these other countries does have very high levels of different chemicals and different medicines within their beef that's banned here in this country for years. So, I really think that we're coming to a knife edge at the minute, because everything that's happening that's coming from Europe, I think we're losing faith very, very quickly. And I have great fears of what's going to happen in relation to the CAP, and to particularly there's serious discussions going on whether Pillar 1 and Pillar 2 is going to be pulled in together. And that would have
But
major
just more
implications.
broadly, though, Martin, if we look at the fishing industry, between the jigs and the reels, a lot of it is down to EU and stuff, right? We've lost a couple of generations. There's few young fishermen, let me put it to you like that, right? 4% of farmers are under 35. I hate to say it, and I'm not. This is not. Is this battle not already lost? Are we already so far through this transition that really it's notional, us thinking that we could save the fishing and farming industry in this country? And I'm sure our other guests will want to come in on that. But I'm just putting it to you, like, I mean, do the statistics not lie? The majority, there's as many farmers over 65 as there are 35 to 65, or not far off it. You know, there's no one farming under 35. So what is the future?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a fear factor there, Greg, and you talk about young fishermen. If we come to my neck of the woods in Glengad or Malin or Orris or Greencastle, all areas Padraig will know exceptionally well. We have a lot of young fishermen. We have a lot of our fishermen are young fishermen that are trying to make a living from the sea and trying to keep that generation thing going that's been there for years and years and years. But the problem is that every step forward they take, there is a blockade put in front of them.
Yeah, not to mention the Gardaí sniffing around thinking, God, it couldn't be crabs or it couldn't be lobsters or clams or whatever you might be fishing. It must be something else dodgy, which is another.
We've been driven into one fishery now, and particularly here in Inishowen, we're driven into brown crab. That's the only fishery. Those boats spend maybe 5 or 6 months a year now where they can't fish because they've nothing to fish.
But Claire, I mean, obviously you can look at this as we all can across the board, but you were talking earlier on about businesses struggling. You have to struggle in an open market here. You know, farmers are really sustainable because of the supports that they get. I mean, I'm sure you would love the level of support and the level of battling on a European level for small businesses and medium-sized businesses in this country. So maybe I'd love your views on the Mercosur deal, and maybe if you wanted to sort of expand into that, it's up to you.
Well, I know what you're saying, and I'm sure a lot of business people would feel that, and they feel, you know, within business people, I know lots of retailers feel that whenever they see the VAT bills being reduced for hospitality. So within sectors, you know, there are ups and downs for every individual sector based on their individual challenges. I never think it's helpful to pit one sector against the other because we're all neighbours, we're all families. Everybody's trying to eke out a living here on the periphery of Europe. But what I do think, I think fishing and farming, and I suppose, you know, I was so impressed, Greg, when I got the panel today, because I thought, God, Inishowen's winning out today because we're all Inishowen people here. But I do feel there's a very special place for farming and fishing in Donegal. There has to be, but in Ireland generally, yes. But I think in Donegal, it's particularly important. And I worked in Inishowen years ago for Inishowen Partnership and Greencastle District Development. And the pace of development within those sectors for me was always pitifully slow. I remember working on a document, I think it was in 1999, trying to bring together all the organisations, including the council and all the various stakeholders, to get a breakwater for Greencastle. Now, am I right in saying that breakwater only went down about 3 years ago? You know,
well, so it lay there for years, and they spent another million or so capping it off.
Yeah, but I mean, until it's complete, it's not complete. So, you know, but I do feel, you know, the fishing and farming, it does have a special place insofar as that's about food security. It's also about these are the people taking care of our sea and landscapes. I think that's extremely important. That all goes to our culture, what we're about, our clean air, clean food, all of that. So I think, you know, because those particular sectors are, you know, they're not 9-to-5 jobs. These people take a lot more risks. They're very unsociable. They're hard manual labor. You know, there's not the same retirement age. All of those factors mean that that's very different to somebody working 9-to-5. And I'm not trying to pit one sector against the other, but for me, I think there's something there where we really need to protect. This is, you know, this is about our culture and our traditions and how we are as a country.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be for pitting one against the other.
No, I don't, and I wasn't really intending to do so. Well, maybe I was, Pádraig McLaughlin, though, are they sunset industries, and we're just buying time here, really, if the truth be told? You know, I mean, you have to look at the figures of people that are going into agriculture, that are going into fishing. It's not by choice. Sometimes maybe it can be by choice. I don't know. People can be quite entitled now and lack resilience. I don't know. But are these not, if we're honest, sunset industries that we've signed up really to move in a different direction, really behind the scenes?
Well, we just, we can't even begin to imagine them being sunset industries, because these are the people who feed us. These are the people who produce our food. What can be more essential than that? But the problem
we
is
overproduce beef. We the reason our export markets are so we export. I think we only consume about 15 or 16% of our own beef. So
10, I think.
Is it 10? Right. Yeah. Okay. So you know what I mean. So we talk about food security. We could reduce our beef farming by 90% and still feed ourselves.
But it's grass-fed beef. It's it's grass-fed beef. Like we have, obviously, as everybody knows, in Donegal we get a hell of a lot of rain, but that does produce an advantage all across Ireland in that you have this unique grass-fed product. And we accepted all of the standards that the European Commission asked for, and we accepted them. Our farmers broke their heart, but they worked with it. And then after all these years, you have this world-class standard that does get exported around the world. That's correct, but it's a fantastic product. And then you just decide, well, actually, for pure corporate greed, we'll allow ranchers who apply none of these standards to come in and compete.
What do you mean corporate greed? What does that mean?
I'm going to give you an example of what I mean by corporate greed in the European Commission. There are 5 big corporations, fishing corporations based in Holland. One of them is particularly huge, okay? They own the super trawlers that go up and down our west coast every year. And they have bought up 1 in 6 of all the fish across the European Union, because in a lot of countries you can just go in and buy it, right? So you have a situation where you have massive super trawlers who perfectly legally, right, hoover up the fish out of our seas, while our inshore fishermen are told you can't fish A, B, and C. That is corporate greed. That has nothing to do with the environment. That has nothing to do with a green economy. That is allowing the industrialization of your fishing sector. I know this, inside out. Unfortunately, I know too much about it. It drives me mad, to be honest with you, Greg, because this is corruption. This is rotten. And you have allowed this to happen. Well, you tell a 14-year-old girl in Murren Kavanagh, I'm sorry, Murren, you can't fish pollock off a hook and line, for God's sake. So this is what's been going on. And we need to call it out. And this is my anger with Micheál Martin. He could reach so many hearts and minds across Europe if he were to call this out and stand up for the small guy. For the guy that had kept our countries going in all of these years. We talked about the economic crash. The farming community were a huge part of keeping us going during that period, So to me, that's my anger.
I know, but he's also the steward of an economy that has taken in 106 billion euro in tax, in corporation tax. I mean, he's fantastic at what he's doing, isn't he? The country's awash with money.
Well, something.
Yes, Claire, go ahead.
Please, Claire, go ahead. No, please, Claire, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that, and looking at the deal, I think for it to go through, or for it not to go through, they need 4 countries need to oppose it, or 35% of the population. And I kind of feel, did our no not come a bit late in the day? We're going to take over the presidency in 6 months. And if we're the biggest beef exporter, if our beef is not only the most but the best, did we not have an opportunity there to show leadership, to say no sooner, and to reorganise this deal? Are we not a bit late in the day?
Well, the day before saying no now? The day before yesterday, Micheál Martin was in China, and it was like, well, we'll see what comes in the next 24 hours. You can't get much later than that.
The Greg Hughes Show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Take control of your finances with a debt consolidation loan today. Call 074 910 2126. Apply online through our app or in office.
Crunch week for Mercosur deal. In this week's Irish Farmers Journal, as thousands are expected at a Mercosur protest in Athlone, we have the latest on where the deal stands. Hormone-treated Brazilian beef found in Ireland. IFA sets out stall on future cap payments. Everything you need to know about new farm building planning exemptions. Plus, don't miss our special focus on top tax-saving tips for farmers. Never miss a story with an Irish Farmers Journal subscription. Go to www.ifj.ie/subscribe.
Here at Braden's House to Home Interiors, we would like to turn your house into a home this year. This January sale, with offers across both our Moville store and our Bridgend store, we offer a free delivery service to the whole of the Northwest, and we won't be beaten on price. Both stores have easy parking, so for quality furniture and flooring at a great price, call into Braden's Furniture, Moville or Bridgend now.
With 56 post offices across Donegal from Lifford to Letterkenny and an award-winning Irish customer service team, An Post Money is the only current account that's truly local. Start your financial year the right way. Pop in to your local post office or download the An Post Money app today. An Post Money, making better happen. Terms and conditions apply. A monthly maintenance fee applies. An Post is authorised by the Minister for Finance to provide payment services and is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland in the provision of such services.
If you have a cough, flu, sore throat, or if you're just feeling miserable, don't suffer through it. At McGee's Chemist, we have the expertise to help you feel better. Our pharmacists and experienced staff will recommend the most effective over-the-counter solutions and give advice on how best to manage your symptoms. At McGee's, we have a wide range of trusted brands and products to help you recover. McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny. For healthcare help and advice you can always trust.
It's here. Our new primetime schedule is now live. Start your day with the Naughty Alarm Clock, 6:30 to 9 a.m. Then the Greg Hughes Show, 9 till 11. From 11 a.m, John Breslin on Around the Northwest will keep you entertained up to 1 p.m. Followed by lunchtime news, 1 to 1:30. Afternoons of change with the Jive Time with David James, 1:30 to 3:30. And the home stretch with Danny and Anya, 3:30 to 5:30. Stay informed with main evening news, then finish the workday strong with the Power Hour with Ivan Borland, 6 to 7 p.m. Your weekday lineup now on air. Evening and weekend shows remain unchanged.
The Greg Hughes Show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000. No hidden fees or charges. Is 2026 the year you move into your dream home? Call 074 910127 or email mortgage@letterkennycu.ie.
Based in Donegal Town, Donegal Waste and Recycle provides a fast, reliable bin service across the county. With affordable plans for homes and businesses, we make waste collection easy and dependable all year round. For trusted local service, visit donegalwasteandrecycle.com or call 074 974 0130. Donegal Waste and Recycle.
Discover Centra Simple Savers, your go-to for great everyday value, like Centra Fresh Art Extra Lean Steak Mince 300 gram €4. Brady's Family Ham Slices selected range €2 each, and Bird's Eye selected range like Chicken Dippers 12 pack and Fish Fingers 10 pack, $2.50 each. Enjoy simple prices on all your favourites. Centra, live every day.
Michael Murphy Sports has everything you need to help you reach your fitness goals. From training gear to resistance bands, skipping ropes, weights and foam rollers, we have all the essentials to see you through every step of your fitness journey. Shop our range of gym gear, equipment and accessories at michaelmurphysports.ie.
Here, would you look at Eco Enda? He's only after going and getting himself one of the new Skoda EVs.
First he went vegan, then he got solar panels, now this.
I'm sure he'd buy anything as long as he can get a grant for it.
Must be from that county beside Monaghan.
The new fully electric Skoda range. The kind of cars that get the neighbours talking. But only if you're quick. Check availability at skoda.ie. Skoda, let's explore.
Skoda. Your local Skoda dealer is DMG Motors, Clar Road, Donegal Town. Telephone 074 9721396.
Níl an bhahanat. Bhefa cailte gan mise. Mise if in fragrach as an adigid marker omadanta. Sin a déir míú sáidúirí linn. Níl ann ach brega. Dleiter duit a bheith sábháilte. Agus nuair a lor go tú cabhair, éist fer leat.
Ní gádit chursús le fóraig an bailín ó gnéasach. Bí an takeíocht down I gcónaí. Cur gléich an ngorda síochána nó tuaircuairt alwayshere.ie.
Cuan, an gníomhaireacht am mar éigen baile, gnéasach agus inscna bhunaithe.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Are you ready to save big? The McElhenny's winter sale is here with up to 50% off your favourite designer brands. Shop in store or online at mcelhennys.com.
So a bright day overall with spells of sunshine and scattered showers. The showers will be a wintry mix of rain, hail and sleet. Temperatures 3 to 6 degrees. But by the way, just be extra careful out on the roads. Not being preachy, just trying to give you some advice because there are certain areas, not least actually south in Ashone, that the council are concerned concerned that this black ice will not lift during daylight hours, at least today. So throughout the day, we're all going to have to be a little bit more careful. Right, there's a horrible trend on X. We've talked about it this week, whereby their AI Grok is being used to undress women, primarily children in some cases. And it is a casual, it is a innocent picture. A person could upload, and next thing you know, someone says, hey, Grok, could you put this person in a micro bikini or something along those lines? And these images are impossible to determine between what is fake and what is real. That's where we're at now with AI. We were talking earlier on, and the comment was made in relation to Ireland flexing its powers, using its influence. Well, this falls right into this category as well, because Commissioner Mann has the power to fine X up to 10% of its global revenue. And the Gardaí could technically pursue prison time for directors under child pornography laws, as they're currently known. We're not happy with that phraseology, but that's what it's called. This is because Grok is undressing, or its undressing feature, and it's still accessible in Ireland today. So is the law enforceable or unenforceable, or is the regulator simply afraid of the blowback involved in taking on Elon Musk? Martin McDermott, haven't started with you on a topic. I'll start with you on this one, a couple of minutes each, if that's okay.
Yeah, look, Greg, I think it's a very serious situation we're in, particularly with Grok and with AI and with the way that the world is heading. We've all got family, and I've got daughters, and everybody's got children, and we all post pictures of family events and everything else that we do. And to think that those pictures could be taken and used in some sexually abusive material in some sexually explicit way, I mean, it's just unbelievable. And I think that, we really we have to come down really hard on this, because if we look at where things have gone in the last 10 years, where's it going to go in the next 10 years? Because it's just absolutely getting out of hand. You can watch things now, and then my daughter showed me things there, even cartoon things where you think it's real, but it's not real. You would swear it was real. It is unbelievable.
But we've seen this happen before. Pornography drove the VHS market. Pornography drove the DVD market. Pornography drove the internet, and now pornography is driving AI. We talked earlier, Padraig, about what we could do or what we can't do or what we should say or shouldn't say. We are the home of these companies, and we're sitting by and failing women and children primarily, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, and we do play a central supervisory role, because the very large platforms, are based here in Ireland, so we have a particular responsibility. If you look at the legislation, Greg, a big part of it is it's based on self-assessment. They're regulated on the basis of self-assessment, and we know what that did in terms of defective concrete blocks in Donegal, where you have self-regulation. So you do need to have legislation that is very robust. And if you look at Commissioner Mann, unfortunately, it isn't as robust as it needs to be. And then if you take the Data Protection Commissioner, they've issued fines over the last 5 years to these companies of 3.3 billion. These are huge fines. What have they collected? About 0.6% of those. So, you have the ability to put in huge fines, but no teeth.
But we have the ability to suspend or demand the suspension of this AI arm of X until such time as they find a way of stopping this. The problem is they can't stop these images without losing out in other areas. And this is all about driving revenue and driving Elon Musk to a 1 trillion bonus in 2035. But we have to protect people. Why aren't we? Are you calling on, is your party calling on Commissioner Mann to bear all of its teeth, or the Data Commissioner, or whoever it is, and do whatever it can to stop this practice by Elon Musk and X?
Our call is on the government to have legislation in Ireland that actually can stop this happening, that has teeth, that doesn't allow them to regulate themselves. And that's the call. And, Joanna Byrne is our spokesperson. She's a TD based in Louth.
We might speak to her on Monday. I'm not cutting across you, but I do want to hear. I'm short on time now, so I do want to hear from Claire just before we say goodbye. Claire, it's worrying, isn't it? I've used that phrase a lot this week.
Yeah, and I think you've hit the nail on the head there. The tension is that 16 out of the 20 top global tech firms are based here. Huge employment, huge revenue, huge tax, and yet I feel the world is watching us. You know, I feel Europe's watching us to see how do we regulate this, because I think that's, you know, there's a need here for us to show leadership. Because are we going to bite the hand that feeds us in some ways? And yet, at what point is morality more important and protecting our most vulnerable? And also, where are our moral standards? And I think there's something deeply, deeply, deeply sad about the fact that the world's richest man, who has the technology probably to cure world hunger, and I'm not saying he set out to do it, but here's his technology undressing women and children. Like, there's something deeply, deeply sad about that. Whereas, and I realise that legislation moves a lot slower than AI, and all this innovation is developing daily at a rate. But surely, if there was ever leadership to be shown, particularly as we look at the EU presidency and all the rest, if ever there was leadership to be shown, and the fact that we're the host of these organisations, I think, you know, we need to put our thinking hats on.
I might be going
here
a bit further than you guys, but I think whatever laws that we have, we need to test them to see if it can be affected on this. And I think a leader in this country needs to stand up and demand directly to his face, Elon Musk, desist.
100%.
These are our kids and these are our women, and we're not seeing that, and I think we should be ashamed of ourselves. Well, not us, but you know what I mean. Listen, I have to go. I wish I had more time with you guys. It's been wonderful having you on. Pádraig McLaughlin, Sinn Féin Chief Whip, Claire McDonough, Member of Letterkenny Chamber and Director of Limaison in Letterkenny, and Councillor Martin McDermott, Cahirlock of the Inishowen Municipal District. All three. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
We'll
Bye.
be back with you on Monday at 9 o'clock. Have a great day. Have a great weekend.